Turvold may just become the most pulled and used, I mean, I can't really say pulled, but most used Void Legendary in the entire game. We know Raid struggles with retention issues, but we have guaranteed Legendary. Disclaimer, you have to pull 80 Void Shards first. So what I'm going to do here is, thankfully I'm a specialist on this champion. He's been my favorite since I first started playing in 2018. Wow, that's a long time ago. So I'm going to give you a complete guide, whether you're early game, mid game, late game, end game, how you can use him, where you can use him, whatever your struggles are, you can apply that to this guide right here, and you will find the perfect spot for Turvold if you did go for it and you do now have him as an addition to your roster. Alright guys, so let's just dive right into it. As I said before, outside of probably Visix, I mean, wait, where is it? Guaranteed Turvold, Okay, here we go. So we have a guaranteed champion here, 80 Void Shards, 2 pulled Turvold. What can you do with this guy? Where can you use him? So first, what's the plan? We are going to start by going over this champion, Barbarian, attack-based, legendary. He looks, I mean, if you've ever seen a Raid commercial, this guy's powerful. He's mean, he's a complete savage, and my major draw to him when I first saw him when I started playing this game is, I'm all about big numbers, right? He feels good to have, he feels good to play with, he hits so hard, it's insane, it really is. And all of that comes down to this A3 ability called Juggernaut here. Once fully booked, 3-turn cooldown, attacks one enemy 2 times. Damage increases according to the number of buffs on this champion. Now, if you want to talk about all of the math, we're probably not going to get into that right now. You probably know about multipliers on all the abilities, damage based on attack, but the strongest multiplier in this game are things that scale off of external sources. So think about Seer. Seer can do about, what, 1.4, 1.5 million damage to each target in a dungeon wave. What? That's a lot of damage. It's because Seer scales off of buffs just like Turvold does. Turvold is like the single target Seer. That's just the best way to put it. So as we just said, damage increases according to the number of buffs on this champion. If the target is killed, resets the cooldown of this skill. And as you can already guess, he's going to kill whatever he hits, unless it's a boss, of course. But anything else in this game, he's going to one-shot here. So what I'm going to do is, of course, my account is rather endgame. I'm going to show you things in very endgame gear. But I've also done a series, what was it, 2 years ago? And huge shout out to Raid. They had a really nice post on that because they knew I wanted a champion for such a long time, and I finally got it on this account and on an account a viewer gave to me, which is really nice. So I've progressed through this game from literally the start of the game. I had Turvold, just Turvold here. That would be replicating the pretty much identical state for any new player coming to this game that buys 80 Void Shards and gets Turvold. You will fly through the game at an insane speed. There's a few things you have to know, of course, so let me just continue going with the kit. Increased attack, increased crit rate buff, and 30% extra speed, also granting an extra turn. So while these buffs do last for 2 turns, it's going to get cut down to 1 turn. But once again, those buffs make up for kind of synergy issues you could be having here. Now you have a 3 times multiplier on a buff just from this champion alone, which is really good game design and champion design overall here for doing additional damage. Some players might be unlucky, not get champions that offer lots of buffs for this champion, so you always have 3 to look forward to. Now there's going to be a couple different builds you can do with this champion. I'm going to do my preferred build, and I'm going to give you another build that's going to be more suited for early game and mid game players who are struggling with gear, because he does help a lot. And I think some of you, if you are longtime players, you will know where I'm going with this based on seeing what the A2 did. But the A1 having a 55% chance of placing a weakened debuff for 2 turns, also very strong. It is single target, but for bossing in this game, any boss you can think of, 55% is very high for an A1 ability. And once again, the A1 hits like an absolute truck. As far as an aura here, this was added later on into the game because faction wars, of course, weren't a thing when Turvold was originally in the game. This just increases the attack in faction crypts by 42%. So as far as the gear, what I did, once again, I understand my gear is very endgame here. We have 7.5 thousand attack, 181 speed, 100% crit rate, 279 crit damage. And I didn't go with resist or accuracy for this champion. Most of it's from empowerment and faction guardians. So the preferred gear set of choice for what I'm doing here today is going to be savage and cruel, to kind of show you guys the huge numbers you can get once you get to the end game. But what sets could you be looking for? This guy's literally fine in anything. Because he scales so hard with that A3, speed sets are fine. You can get away with relentless gear on this guy. You can get away with reflex gear on this guy. Swift parry, I don't care what it is. Crit damage set, the baseline attack percent set, crit rate set, whatever you need to make this champion work, you can use. If you want to use him for clan boss, you can even throw him in a poison set, making sure he has enough crit rate and crit damage to pump out some damage on top of that. He's just going to do so much for you. As far as masteries go, I'm going to show you the preferred mastery choice for dungeons, Doom Tower, bosses, probably not Hydra. Hydra War Master is pretty strong. There is a case to be made that the Hydra defense is high, so you maybe could get away with the Helm Smasher here if you're only hitting the head with insane defense, but honestly, you're probably going to go with a separate build, and I'm going to show you since I do have 2 Turvolds. I would love to make this guy a +3. He's currently +2 now, but my faction guardians do not allow it. So I believe he should already be set as far as the second Turvold. I'm sure I passed him here. Okay, so this is going to be more in alliance with Clan Boss. There are many Clan Boss teams. You can head on over to deadwoodjedi.com. You can see all of the cool Clan Boss teams with Turvold. I have quite a few videos of Clan Boss Turvold on my channel as well, where he's just pumping insane damage. Like, I cannot stress insane enough here. So this is going to be the typical tree. You go with offense tree always, as I showed you in the other build. Helm Smasher, taking advantage of increased ignore defense. Now for the second tree, you can definitely play around with this a lot here. This champion's kind of a glass cannon. I'll go over his base stats in a second and it'll make more sense to you guys. I prefer defense tree. Defense tree is significantly stronger than the support tree unless that champion needs accuracy. If you need accuracy, go ahead and take pinpoint accuracy. Go ahead and take charged focus. Swarm Smiter isn't a bad idea here. You can also get away with rapid response. This will make it impossible to speed tune, so keep that in mind if you're in a clan boss team. Don't take this for a clan boss team. This is something for like dungeon progression. You can also take Arcane Celerity if you have 2 points available. You shouldn't, because there are strong options in the offense tree, but it is what it is. And then finally taking Lore of Steel here. And for the final thing, you can take Sniper for that 5% additional chance, making it a 60% chance baseline of applying that weaken on the A1. So with all that being said, let's talk about the base stats like I just mentioned here. 17.5 thousand base health. Not crazy, definitely not on the lower end. We've seen like 13,000 base health. That's terrible. So he's pretty tanky for a barbarian, as he should be. I mean, just look at him. Attack 1,494, very, very good base attack on this champion. Defense is lacking for sure, so I would consider this guy a glass cannon. Speed, 93% speed, but you do have to remember that you are getting a built-in speed buff on his A2 ability, which it's a 4-turn cooldown, goes down to a 3-turn cooldown when you book it, but you don't really need to book this because you're going to use this skill and then grant an extra turn, so it's going to lower the cooldown anyways, making the baseline a 3-turn cooldown and the booked a 2-turn cooldown. So all of these things go into play very nicely here, and outside of that, crit rate, crit damage, resistance, accuracy, none of that really matters. So the question is, what can we do with this guy first? The first thing I want to do is let's do a damage test. I made a video about this a long time ago, as we saw from the owner of the Raid Shadow Legends channel, saying you finally got it, where I went into the clan boss. I set up Turvold with I think 10 buffs. I didn't have Battle at the time. I'm going to use Battle today, so it's kind of like, I don't know, a blast from the past for me. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna see what he does with 10 buffs on the Ultra Nightmare just in one A3 hit, just so I can kind of like ease you guys into understanding the ridiculous damage this guy can put out here. So the last champion I'm looking for is going to be, I believe, okay, we have Lydia. Okay, so Battle, that's the one I was missing in the other video. I'm going to show him to you now. So we're just going to do this run here. We're only going to do 1 turn, and I'm going to show you the damage this guy can pump out. Hopefully really on defense down weekend. Don't 3% me. Okay, we are good here. Now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buffs. Make that 7, 8 buffs. Make that 9, 10. If you're not familiar with this, 10 buffs are the max amount of buffs you can have in this game before it's overcapped, essentially. So right here, we're not going to use our A2 because we're all full. We have 100% crit rate, which is why I prefer you crit capping this champion. There's another reason for dungeons, and I'll explain that in a bit. But I do prefer running with 100% crit rate on this champion no matter what. There is a build where you can run 70% crit rate. That's definitely more of a beginner build that you can use, but let's see this A3 damage on the Ultra Nightmare, how much we can pump out. 600,000, 700,000 damage, pumping, absolutely pumping. So that's what I love to see. Out of curiosity, I do want to see his A1, 162,000, 148,000. This guy slaps. So with all that being said, what is this second build that I'm talking about? What other dungeons can use him in? You can use him in anything. Ice Golem, Dragon Slayer, Fire Knight, Minotaur. I mean, anything works in Minotaur. All of the Void keeps because he is a Void legendary, so he has no weak affinities to any of these, and he's going to one-shot most bosses if you have the proper team comp. The only dungeon he doesn't shine in endgame format is quite obviously going to be Spider. However, if you are progressing, he does do a insane amount of damage for the Spider, because early game, usually when you go for champions like this, I think, okay, so stage 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, I mean, look at 12, 13 minutes there. So when you're progressing through, you guys know the struggle, right? You're using AoE champions, you're killing the spiderlings over and over again, slowly whittling down the boss. What Turvold does, he brings insane single target to the table here. He's Void affinity, so unless you're fighting the Void Spider for this, he's not going to get targeted. They're always going to target the weak affinity champion here, and Turvold's just going to be pumping the Spider down. If I had Turvold on this account when I was progressing, these times would have been significantly quicker, and I would have gotten to the main farming thresholds that I needed to get for the Spider to start pumping my account up properly. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to take this into Dragon, and we're going to talk about some team comps you can use. So if you're early game, like I said, ideally you're going to want to run 70% crit rate. 100% is a bit harder to get if you're in the early game. By mid game, you should 100% have 100% crit chance on all of your damage dealing champions. There's just no way around it. I've seen YouTubers, I don't know why they do this, they have 90%, 92, 95 saying it's okay. It's not okay. This is a consistency game. This game's heavily based off of math, having consistent clears, not wasting energy. If you're not critting, you're giving the opposing wave a chance to get a turn. That turn can be lethal to you and your team. I've seen 1,000 times, and I've even seen videos of teams and then people replicate the teams and they say this team's like 70% win rate. Most of that comes down to not crit capping champions, because every once in a while they're not going to one-shot certain waves they need dead. They get provoked, a buff gets off where they cleanse all of the debuffs on the enemy wave, and it's just over after that. So I cannot stress that enough. So what are we talking about as far as Turvold goes and where you can pair him? I would highly recommend always pairing him with a revived champion if you can. Like I said, he is a glass cannon champion. Arbiter you do get fairly early on into the game, but if you're early game, you're probably not going to have Arbiter anytime soon. So find any champion that revives. Shaman's a good champion. You can use Shaman for sure. Any champions like Ursula here. I mean, I'm not going to go over every reviver of the game here. The next best champion that I do want to highlight for sure is going to be, if I can even find him. Okay, so he's not currently in my roster here. Let's head on to include Master Vault and Reserve Vault. Why not? Let's scroll down here. He is a red affinity champion, and his name is Mausoleum Mage. Mausoleum Mage pairs extremely well with Turvold. He has increased crit rate, which Turvold already has, but increased defense and block debuffs. This is only a one-turn debuff, but this goes to the synergy and why I said you're not always going to start with that A2 into the A3 combo when using Turvold in dungeons here. So just for example, I'm just going to throw Mausoleum Mage in here. And then let me get rid of this. We're going to go ahead and go to recently used first. We're going to throw Duchess in here, Lydia. We don't really need anybody else, but just for safe, I mean, just to do more damage, I guess, we're going to throw in Bad El Khazar. Are we overlapping increased defense, block debuffs? Okay, so we're overlapping a little bit here. Who can I swap out just to get a little more damage here? Let me think. We don't have, okay, we have increased attack. You know what? I'm not going to think too much about it. Let's just head straight into stage 20 here. Hopefully is enough speed. I should probably check that out. 171, that's not quite enough, so unfortunately I have to head to the vault fairly quickly. I don't want to make you guys wait too long here. We're just gonna go here to collection. That's all set. We're gonna head down to our, let's throw on some speed where we can. What do we got? 12. You know what? 12 looked good. Let's take the 12 speed here. Now let's go for some gloves. He has relentless gear. I'm not sure why, but he has it. And 11 speed, that should be fine. 194. Yeah, I mean, it's not the greatest, but we take what we can get, right? Okay, so let's start this out. I'm going to show you my preferred method for dungeons. I've tested this out a bunch of times, and this works the best for me, and I'll explain why as we're going through this here. So ideally, the best pair with Turvold and Mausoleum Mage, or any champion like Mausoleum Mage, is going to be another wave clear champion. Yes, Turvold's going to one-shot every single champion as you progress through any single dungeon, but there's 5 enemies per wave here, so that could take quite some time. Now, if you're early game, you probably don't care too much about that, but overall you will. So this is the key point and why I recommend 100% crit rate, as well as starting with the A3 first. So if you go with the 70% crit rate build, it works with someone like Mausoleum Mage or anyone else that gives increased crit chance here. So you're going to start with this A3 here. You're going to one-shot whoever you are. Okay, so that's a 2-hit skill, right? And he just one-shot that champion. This stage 25, I know my gear is strong, but I'm telling you guys, this guy needs virtually no gear. If you can get enough buffs on this champion to one-shot anything for your progression level. I cannot stress this enough. He's one of the most underhyped champions in the game because he's single target. People greatly overlook this champion. So now we're going to throw this on auto, and you're going to see the kind of chain of events here. He's going to burn through his buffs, but we saved that A2 ability. So now he's going to do, I mean, ideally, I don't know what he does on auto here, so I'm not going to jinx anything. Let's just slowly go through the turns here. So he goes again. I think he's going to opt to use his A3 for my account because the AI here is saying you can one-shot anyone here. Now, if you wanted to, you can use the A3 again here because we do have the extended duration of increased crit rate in case you're trying to simulate 70% crit rate. But if you didn't want to do that, you could go with the A2, A3 combo. For here, we're just going to go with the A3 once again here. Again, a one-shot. Reduce the cooldown all the way back to 0 once again. So you can, of course, see why the strength of this guy being in relentless gear in the early game is going to be so strong. So now we're going to put this on 2x speed, kind of watch this roll here, and kind of like what I was saying before, he's always going to use the A3 ability on auto unless you preset the AI if he can one-shot the champions, which is going to be the case for pretty much anybody running him as long as you have the proper crit rate here. I don't believe it predetermines if it's going to be a critical strike or not. I cannot confirm or deny that. I've never seen that happen before where he uses his A3 because the game tells him that he can one-shot. As we can see there, he didn't one-shot that champion, but I cannot confirm or deny, like I was saying, whether the game's going to predetermine a one-shot or not based on crits, not critting. But as we can see here, from what I mentioned before, Turvold's the glass cannon. He's going to take the most damage by far on the team here, reducing that cooldown over and over again, but pairs really well with some form of AoE champion. If you started out with anyone, Kale's the most common starter. So Kale, Turvold, a reviver. Okay, so let's I don't know, let's map this out. Kale, Turvold, since we have Turvold now, a revived champion, whoever you want it to be, whether it's shaman, somebody else, someone like a Mausoleum Mage, or anybody that provides buffs for Turvold, and then fill. You can fill with a turn meter booster, you can fill with a healer, someone like a Doom Priest would be great. I think I used on my starter account with Turvold the Golden Reaper champion to further reduce cooldown because, of course, legendary books they're not common at all, right? So I was using an unbooked Turvold for all of my progression early on into this game here, and with Golden Reaper, it was also a great pair. I mean, I pretty much had the dream team. I got lucky. Most people are not going to have those champions between Mausoleum Mage, Golden Reaper, and Turvold. That's a power 3 right there. I use them everywhere. I got to Brutal Clan Boss after, I think, 7 days. Yeah, 7 days, Brutal Clan Boss. The campaign was a complete joke to me, and I should have slowed it down because I wanted to highlight the damage Turvold was going to do to the dragon, but the dragon just melted, mostly because of my gear, also because Turvold's just a busted champion. So now, with that being said, what's the final thing I haven't talked about? We have dungeons down. I explained that pretty well. That's going to apply, like I said, to anything but the spider. For the spider, it's going to take a little bit more setup, but it's going to be the solo focus on single targeting that spider down here. Next is going to be arena. Now, in all of the videos I've ever done for Turvold, I've always had like hidden closet players come out and say, Murder, I've been using Turvold in the arena, unstoppable. They're right. He is unstoppable. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to fight a team. Let's just pick, this is actually a perfect team. So we have one tanky champion. I mean, someone's got to be in Stone Skin. There's no way no one's in Stone Skin in this team. So we're going to see how we do against a triple revive team. Yeah, we'll bring Lydia, just in case they get the revive off. Or, no, we're going to bring Lydia. That would be crazy not to. So this is what we're going to do here. Okay, we have Stone Skin. Unfortunately, you can't debuff Stone Skin, but I'm curious as to how much damage. Oh, we can't target her. Maybe we can... Okay, we removed Stone Skin. That wasn't the intended goal. Okay, so now just begins the one-shot fest here. Let's just go ahead and target. We got 3 buffs here. Let's use this extra turn. Even more buffs. Let's head straight for Duchess. Yeah, you're only surviving 1 hit there. No defense down and no weaken on the champion. And it is what it is. Okay, so now we target Arbiter next because the revive was just burned by Cardinal on the far left of the screen here. And I don't have to reset the cooldowns because Turvold's a Giga Chad. I mean... He just reset his cooldown by one-shotting right there. So let's go ahead, one-tap Arbiter. Game, set, match. I mean, it's over now. The cooldown for Cardinal's too long. Cardinal's getting slept anyways. We don't have to... I want to reset because we don't want to wake up Cardinal just yet. So all of that's set. Now let's boost the turn meter here. Go for that final... You know what? All the buffs. Now the final buff, they do have strengthened, so they're going to take reduced damage. It's a one-tap. It doesn't matter what they have. This will work against champions like, if you... Okay, we're going to look for one. But if you try to play against someone like an Ursuga that's protecting, a Necrit, whatever you want, wait until you see the damage that a champion on the enemy team trying to protect the squishy damage takes when they get hit by Turvold. That's going to be a sight to see for sure. So to finish this off quickly, another A3, bam, 266,000. We didn't see the second hit anywhere on this list. All right, so here we go. We have a Necrit team here. We have Mashald here. We have the Hydra chick. What's her name? Mithrala. Yeah, Mithrala. What a fun champion. So let's see. Look. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Do a little bit of this. Oh, I don't want to. Okay, so it can't be stripped, so we're good. It cannot be stripped, so we are good here. Although if I use defense down and weaken, that's not going to fly. So let's just go ahead. A3 Mithrala. A little bit of that going on. Now we pump. Watch what happens. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Necrit, fantastic champion, don't get me wrong, but you cannot stop Turvold. I cannot stress this enough. Stone Skin will stop Turvold, but Turvold's going to shred pretty deep through Stone Skin. If you let Turvold hit a champion with Stone Skin at 2 times, depending on how much gear and how good of Stone Skin set that champion has, he's probably going to shred through the Stone Skin as well. I would love to actually test that out here. I don't know if this team had Stone Skin or not, or if I was just dreaming, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and sleep this champion and wait. Okay, so now we have another protected champion here. Let's reset cooldowns to get buffs on Turvold again. Okay, so we have this. We have this. Now we're going to go ahead and A3. the Duchess. This one's going to be interesting because she has strengthen, she has defense up on her, as well as ally protection. I don't know if we cut through this, but let's see. Okay, so we did not cut through that at all. The smarter play probably would have been to just one-shot Necrit here, but I mean, that's a lot of buffs, and if we had defense down, she's probably dead. If we had weakened, she's dead, but listen, it is what it is. So now we're just going to cycle through here. We're not going to debuff anyone. They have block debuffs on. Let's go ahead, speed the team up, get some more buffs rolling. Block revive, get wrecked. Let's do this again here. So there's a lot of health right now on this Duchess here. Do we go for the... Okay, let's try... Okay, so we remove strength in this time, and we're not going to have the A3 up. So this becomes a little bit interesting here. Do we go for the A1 on Duchess? We're definitely not going to kill her. The A3 scales way harder, so that's the only chance of killing her. We could try whittling down her health a little bit more, or just going for the kill with the A1. Let's just go for it. Okay, so only one hit, that's all it took. I probably should have just damage tested here and went straight on for the Duchess here, but it is what it is. What happened, and I cannot take it back. So now let's cycle through here. The revive should be coming soon. And yeah, see, now we have no defense up, no strengthen, no ally protection, no shield, no large shield at least, on Duchess, and she just completely falls over. It's literally that simple. So put this on auto. I do want to try to find a stone skin set just to see how much damage our Turvold can do into stone skin, because I'm pretty curious. My Rotos, that's +4, can shred stone skin pretty well, so I do want to see what that's going to be like. All right, if I was a betting man, I would say this team has stone skin. I hope. Please have stone skin. There's a lot of passives going on here. No stone skin. All right, you know what? We're just going to leave the battle. Enjoy your free win, my friend. We don't have time for this. That would have been such a good team to try as well. Maybe this team has stone skin? I mean, it's so hard. As much as I want to say I wish it told me in advance who has stone skin or not, I mean, I probably should have done this while in plat. That would have been the smart thing to do. Murder, what are you thinking? I'm not thinking. Leave me alone. Okay, anyways, I don't want to go against this team because Turvold isn't Rotos, so Leorius would be the, I guess, kryptonite to someone like Turvold, and I mean, not just Turvold, many other champions for sure here. Maybe this team has stone skin. We're going to go ahead and use this. I hope they do. And they don't. Okay, this is still going to be a cool team to kind of test against. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of this. They're going to resist that. Okay, so we have reaction gear. That's been burned. We don't care about that. Now let's go ahead, put some buffs on Turvold. Now we have a huge shield on... Okay, so defense up, strengthen, big shield on Duchess. Now the shield's going to get even bigger because she's going to retaliate with that A1. Now it's Turvold's time. Alright, buddy, what are you going to do to this Duchess here? Now, the last time we tried this, they had ally protection, so it wasn't too much, but let's see here. See you later. Nice try. Thanks for playing. You're not standing up to Turvold. Like, ever. Ever, ever. Okay, so we got this going on. We got some counterattacks. This is fine. Block revived. Get wrecked. Now we're just going to go through the line one-shotting. You guys have already seen this, so this is going to be the last one for sure. I wish I could have found another strong thing. We took that defensive talent that counterattacks if it loses health. Another very strong thing to use on someone like a Turvold here. So Turvold, he has enough buffs. We're going to go ahead and use this A3 on Sifi, who's going to just get one tapped here. Now we can just put this on auto and let it play out however it wants, because there's zero chance that we lose this fight. There's the A1 ability. Can't even survive the A1 on a defense stacking Valkyrie. Not even the A3, so the next hit from Turvold is going to be game, set, and match. Alright guys, so that's going to be the complete guide for Turvold. Hopefully I covered everything here. If I haven't, scroll through my channel, just go to the search button on the channel, type in Turvold. You're going to see all of the early game videos I have on him. You're going to see any clan boss teams I have with Turvold in it, doing disgusting damage like I showcased here today. Enjoy. Congrats on your Turvold as the first. I mean, I think he was a pretty decent choice overall. If you're endgame, he's a fun champion. I've had hours of fun with this. When there's nothing to do, you're looking for fun champions in this game, and Turvold does not disappoint on that front. Progression-wise, Turvold carries some progression for sure. He's no Dracomorph, of course, but being slightly worse than Draco and being good in his own way, he's definitely way more fun than having a Dracomorph for sure. So that's going to conclude this video. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, subscribe, turn the notification bell, and I will see you all in my next upload.